outside looking out, I look at the world, I see people and things, changes. Give you the sun in the morning, never do me no wrong. When I see the rise, I see a whole heap of world where it's beautiful colors, you know. The beautiful colors and shades and tones. But man is the only creature that I see that use that to create a difference. There's a difference in man because he uses these and he creates war and competition, superiority and system. The plants and trees and the flowers, they harmonize. So I make music to encourage man to follow what he calls nature and harmonize.
20 seconds, man. A maestro at the keyboard, a thoughtful songwriter, and a vocalist with a touch of Jamaican grace. Ibu's music journey flourished with the Inner Circle Band. His creative spirit found a new horizon when he co-founded Third World alongside Cat Core. Their collaboration was more than a band. It was a narrative of Jamaican culture and expression. The former Prime Minister, P.J. Patterson, said that in his tribute to Ibu a few months ago. Good evening. Welcome to JaRIA Reggae Open University, the third in our series for Reggae Month 2024. It has been a wonderful 15 years, and we are really, really happy that we're able to bring this to you. Welcome to those who've joined us on all our platforms, JaRIA's YouTube, JaRIA's Facebook, PBCJ's Facebook, Best FM, PBCJ's YouTube. Welcome to all of you on all the platforms that are sharing this stream. Good evening to my wonderful family. It's a family affair this evening, and it is my pleasure to introduce our guests. By the way, my name is Colleen Douglas, and I'm absolutely pleased and honored to be the moderator for this evening's program. Mr. Junior Lincoln, I call him the old guy with a lot of style, who've been around forever, one of our directors of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Board, also a founding member and also a founding board member. Welcome, Junior. Our current chair, who practices law in his spare time, but is a full-fledged musician and a fully committed chairman of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, who started out differently in his earlier years of JaRIA, Mr. Johan Simpson. Welcome.
Thank you, Colleen.
You're welcome. Serena Constantine, who we're accustomed to singing on stage, a former student, mentee of Mr. Ibu Cooper. Thank you for sharing space this evening.
Thanks for having me.
And Mr. Dale Brown, who you cannot miss at all when he's on stage because his face animates the guitar. He's a former student of Ibu as well. And I call him Ibu's SUN, Ibu's son and mentee. Welcome, Dale.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for coming. I'm just going to start quite light. I'm going to start with Junior. Give me a favorite memory of Ibu. Your favorite memory.
That's kind of difficult, but let me try. My favorite memory of Ibu is in 1972, I think it was, I was down from London in the music business. And he came to the hotel. And that's when they had the concept of forming the Third World Band. And they went through the concept and, talking to them, especially Ibu, you could see what Ibu wanted to do at that time, why he wanted to leave in a circle and started his own band. That conversation, I think, was the beginning of Third World. So it's kind of, I started to understand, at the time, what this young man was about.
Okay,
that's my favorite memory. Yeah.
Johan.
It's kind of difficult, as Director Lincoln has said, to speak of a favorite memory of Ibo, because Ibo is one of those people that's just literally always around. So it's kind of difficult to dissect it. But there are a couple of things that ring well for me, which include the many long hours, frustrating hours sometimes, of just putting the music for the award show together. Because it is always beautiful how sometimes you don't understand his process and you're sure that he's crazy. But being someone who is called crazy sometimes, I have to yield to that, and then you see the end product. Sometimes the end product comes just before the lights go up.
We know.
But the end product comes, and you have to give the director that kind of latitude, So sometimes it causes Director Lincoln himself to be a little, on edge. But it's for me, it's just watching his process and his passion for the process, because there's something he says at every single one of those rehearsals. He always says to the entire orchestra at some point in rehearsal and at some point at dress rehearsal, if you were at the Royal Carnegie Hall, you would have taken a different approach to playing our music. And you must take the same approach as you would have taken if you were playing European classical music.
Said in a whisper. Thank you, Johan. I go over to you, Serena.
I have many. It's kind of hard to just
pick
one. But I kind of hold close to my heart or interactions outside of school, especially the late nights coming from studios, him carrying me home from his home studio to my home in Portmore, and we're just driving and we're literally talking and making up lyrics. He's just, or watching him in the studio, like, I'm just so in awe. I'm sitting there looking at this guy singing, mouthing something out of his mouth and turn it into a sound, and it's on the record. I'm like, wow, the studio, just our conversations, traveling. Those are what,
You hold there.
Yeah.
Dave?
All right. So this isn't necessarily one of my favorite or a favorite memory. I'll call this one of my earlier memories. 2002, driving to Portland, going through somewhere in St. Mary. And there's a section of the road where there's a hill, and there's a, what do you call it, brow of the hill. And Sir was driving his car. He overtook another car. Solid white line, brow of the hill. And just easy. Like, no great haste. Of course, nothing was coming from the other direction. We found out later on. But it is just that part of him that he could be kind of cool under what could be, the circumstance that could, cause unease in others. And I found that to be, and I still find it to be, a remarkable quality.
Thank you. Johan and Junior, I wanted to talk a little bit about JaRIA's early years, especially you, Junior. When that signal came to form this umbrella association, where was Ibu in that? Where were you in that? What happened then?
Well, he wasn't in the original discussion, but only a few months after that he came into it, and has been a foundation member since. But we shared the same vision, and that is what kept JaRIA stroke Reggae Month going, because, there are many times during that 15 years when we had no money and we said, we have to cancel. And, the stubborn person that I am, I said, under no circumstances that we're going to cancel. Because if we cancel 1 year, the continuation would not be there. And the vision was, funny enough, 15 years. Because I always said to the younger ones in the group, look, when you join this group, you must understand that it is not a 100 meter or 400 meters. It's a marathon, so you have to stay with it. And there are many people, young and not too young, who have served this organization and stayed with JaRIA and stayed with Reggae Month over the years. But I must tell you that there are some people outside of Igbo, like Charles Campbell, who was original, myself, Freddie McGregor, that were really the anchor, because we were the older ones, so we were there to kind of guide. But I just want to say this, that what kept us is that we all had this vision of an umbrella organization, because that is sadly lacking in Jamaica, and that is why it was set up that way, and we went through quite a lot to get the other organizations
to be a part
of it. Yes.
That umbrella. You want to know, I'm going to come next, but because we're up on a break shortly, I want to share my first memory of Ibu was, I used to see him in meetings, but he's receiving a call one night. We're on a 3-way call. And he said, I hear you do marketing. Would you be interested in being a member of the board and you could go up for elections? It was him and Stephen Stewart. Yes. And when I got to there, I said, but I don't remember yet, because I was in a secretariat first. And Ibu just take out his money and pay me dues just to ensure that I was a legitimate member before that meeting. So there was always a strategist go in at every level. When we come back, we're going to go straight to the current chairman of JaRIA so that he can share his early experience in JaRIA with Ibu when he functioned in a different capacity. I think you were director of CAM at the time.
Yes.
And then to what working with Ibu after. You are tuned into Reggae Open University. We are live on various platforms, JaRIA Entertainment. Don't just watch, subscribe. So click that subscribe button so that you're following JaRIA on YouTube. You're also on PBCJ YouTube. You're also on JaRIA's Facebook and the various platforms, including the JCDC, I believe, that is sharing a Reggae Month vibe as we encourage you to catch the rhythm. We'll be right back. You cool?
Stand up one more time now. All my friends from Trinidad.
Mine?
Come on. Ooh, yeah. Hey, gotta say yes. Yeah. Everybody scream. Don't the soul die without direction. I didn't know which way that I had to go. I saw the clues to life will answer questions. My mind's heart had to know. I heard your call while wandering through the darkness. I walk a million miles to find that endless voice that speaks to me when I am in temptation, echoing my choice. Listen. I've you through time. And if you're thirsty, I will quench you with my love. And if you're Try, try love.
Welcome back to Reggae Open University, the third in this series for Reggae Month 2024. We're looking at, we're actually celebrating Ibu Cooper and his 15 years of impact to JaRIA specifically. We know his impact in music goes way beyond that. Before we left, we were talking about the early years in JaRIA, but I wanted to share some thoughts from Joan, who was also a director of CAM at some point, Joan Webley. His direct impact in the music is undeniable, but I believe few of his stature can also lay claim to guiding, shaping, and encouraging generations in the way Ibu did as a musical director, educator, and industry leader. I think it's a perfect segue to you, and I actually want you to talk to me about him as a teacher for you in the JaRIA space.
Well, it's interesting because when first I became a director of JaRIA, as director of CAM, Ibo was one of those persons. I think this might even have been Ibo's doing in the first place. And he was very passionate about what my skills could bring to the organization. But of course, I like to talk about Ibo's unorthodox way of getting it done and getting you to do things.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed, there was a lot that was carried. He was a broker of relationships.
Yeah.
He was always that one that tried to be the bridge between the Ednam and the college and the organization, the bridge between the organization and the government, the bridge between different factions in the industry that didn't trust each other. Or, we have to talk about that because that is something that was dear to him, trying to pull the entire organization together. And so, despite the fact that some of how we did it was frustrating to me, it was important to see that his passion led him to just getting it done, right? We would come to a meeting and then we heard, oh, I went and met with so-and-so and so-and-so yesterday. And I said, well, you could have called me though. Because, but he was like, boy, we know you're busy and so I just need you to get it done. There was a getting it done energy. And that energy is what translated into the latter years, my return now as chairman, because this was something that was literally orchestrated between himself and Stingray, who badgered me about making myself available. And Ibo gave me all the reasons in the world why I could not be too busy. And despite the responses I gave to him, he found a way to explain how he overcame all of that and why it was important for me to give. The last thing that he said to me was on that score, that kind of tipped the scale, and I decided to just do it. He said, and if you don't do it, and it's not done properly, who will you blame?
Yes. It sounds like Ibu. But one of the things I really appreciated, Junior, too, it's how he will encourage you to do your work. And when you do your work, he's also the one who celebrates your success. So he would always, I remember the early days of JaRIA when marketing was just a lone soldier. And he'd be like, boy, Colleen, you do good, you do good this year. So we used to get that, and you feel encouraged. And something Johan also said about the ultimate peacemaker.
Yes.
The cramp and paralyze them with love is typical of what Ibo was. I'm going over to Dale and Serena because I kind of want to get a sense of Ibo the teacher. What was he like when you stumbled upon him in the classroom?
You, sorry.
Dale looks at Serena, and Serena looks at Dale.
No, I looked at him because he was before me, you get me? So he would have known Mr. Cooper, I guess, fresh off touring, fresh off coming out of third world, and so
Oh, I'd like to hear that, Dale.
I
All
got
right.
the latter part.
I met, fix certain things. I was not officially a student, as in the Edna Manley sense.
Yeah, man.
I met Mr. Cooper. Over the years, I refer to him as Sir. I met Sir in 2000. One of them weird kind of meetings, I was on campus today. I had gone into the room 30, where, he had the meet and greet with the students. And he was doing his class. At the end of his class, as I was sitting at the back, and he came over to me and asked, where you knew me from? We have met you before. I said, you never met me. I said, no, man, I met you already. And then over the years, he has actually told that story many times to people. And, saying, boy, he felt it was more like a spiritual connection and something like that. But as a teacher, I remember I told him that I had an interest in learning to read music. Because playing it by ear is one thing. Reading the script is a different ball game. So he said, all right, link him at the house. We're neighbors, so just walk down to the house. And he was there going through the thing with me. As I said, the unorthodox approach. Because in my mind, I was expecting, all right, so these are lines and spaces, and these are the note values and so forth. He asked me that question if I knew about that. I said, yeah, I know about those things. Then he scripted something on, on the staff. And said, play that. And I figured out the notes and, in terms of the pitch and so forth. And I realized it was one of those nice rock-steady bass lines that I've always been playing. I said, wow. And he said, yeah, man, it's easy, man. Tell you no deal. It's easy, man. That's all you have to do. So the unorthodox kind of approach made it so much easier to deal with him for some of us. Even as a teacher, I think because I've heard accounts from other students of his, where his approach, it superseded your typical teacher. He was more of a father in his style. I heard of once, just imagine this, having a class, multiple students, there's a concept being taught, and some of them, it was like maybe the drummers at the time who weren't getting it. And they apologized to the rest of the class and said, very sorry, but we need everybody to understand this thing before we can move forward. And so he put things on hold, broke it down very simply. They got the concept, and then they all moved on.
By the way, if you are unaware of what Ibo taught at Edna, he really managed the pop and jazz ensemble,
The
jazz and pop rather. So he was responsible for all those bands. Last night there was a beautiful rendition from Monty on guitar that he played a tribute, but it's also what he said about Ibo, before he played. And the fact that all the students seem to have some, especially the older set of students, the C Sharp, the Raging Fire, the Pentatouch, all of those bands who started. Sarina, I don't know what year you left there, but what was it like with Ibo as a teacher?
I started Edna 2004. I was in, PQ. And I knew of him because I knew of Third World and stuff like that. But he always loves to tell the story of how we met. See this little girl in PQ with her afro and her hibiscus stuck. We were just walking around. Didn't no care in the world. And he's like, yeah. You know how he be like, yeah, all right, yeah, okay. I do not remember exactly the meeting point when we actually exchange words, but it was around that time, PQ into year one. Year one, we actually started working on an album and stuff like that. But as what Dale said with the teaching, I remember him always saying, how he taught his piano students classical music is breaking it down and just basically playing reggae. He says it's just broken chords. It's just broken chords and they do all the fancy things. If you bang it, it's the same thing. It's just different style. So I always like taking me in teaching his class and like, okay. And you know, he does have the father thing towards him, like the year when I didn't pass psychology and I got it. You know, I got the cousin. And he said, come on, Serena, no man, you have to do better than this. Like, he was livid, like, as a father would be towards his child. He was livid, and I got my stuff together and, you know, get through and everything like that. But he loved what he did at Edna. Everybody loved him. We all appreciated his genius. He was just amazing in class, watching him teach, like how he would go about translating something that somebody's not getting to actually letting them get it just like that, and how they transform on the stage, performing and stuff like that. He was just great, man. Like,
you know, Yuan, my first encounter with Ibu over by School of Music was actually a graduation rehearsal. That time, Edna used to have graduation at Little Theatre, but they rehearsed in the Vera Moody. And when we got to Little Theatre, it was 2013. And, you know, sometimes things just happen and people get delayed. Yeah. And Ibu and them Pitney, they play for about 1 hour while we waited on everybody else. But it's the way that he was never a star in their midst. He was just one of them. Remember when we had church service in Trenchtown, Junior? He was on stage with Dale and them playing and just having a jolly grand time.
He always love to say, sorry, I'm just like around the young people, and they're the future, you know. And he always says, I'm boss already, you know. And that's his favorite thing.
His favorite word. His favorite word.
So, we're up on another break as we continue to remember Ibo, to honor his memory. I do think that we shouldn't stop calling his name. I think when people die, their legacy lives on, because those of us who are left with the memories continue to share it for generations to come. My guests this evening is a big family: Dale Brown, Serena Constantine, Johan Simpson, and Mr. Junior Lincoln. We'll be right back in a moment with JaRIA Reggae Open University. I just said JaRIA Open University instead of Reggae. Is it JaRIA and I damn theme? And fix it.
What kind of food that? Oh.
I'm not with food, me no.
Read out, oh yes, in the shade, 96 degrees in the shade. Read out, hear me when I say, in the shade. I said it was 96 degrees in the shade. 10,000 soldiers on parade. Said that they were taking eye and eye to meet a big fat war sent from overseas, the Queen and I. Excellency, say before you I come with my representation. You know where I'm coming from. Caught me on the loose, fighting to be free. Showing me your news on the cotton tree. Entertainment for you. But it's marching down from me. And I said it's gonna be 96 degrees in the shade. Real hot, oh yes, in the shade. shade. Real hot, hear me when I say in the shade.
Real hot, oh yeah, in the shade.
Oh boy, the classics. What a man. What a man. I want to share as we come back. For those who are just joining us, it's Reggae Open University. It's our third in our series. I think we have 5 this year because it's a longer month. So we have 5 Thursdays, and we are here at the PBCJ studio and reflecting on Ibu. I wanted to share something from a former youth rep of JaRIA, Abishai Hoylett. I could wax lyrical about his accomplishments as a performer and co-founder of the legendary reggae band, Third World. But I truly believe that it was his later transformation from performer to professor, mentor, that sets him apart from all others. His fingerprints can be seen and felt across the world through his rich legacy of teaching and mentorship of generations that came after him. As a stalwart of the culture, he went above and beyond to pass his knowledge and experience to the next generation, including myself, said Abby. The next generation, Junior. I thought you and Ibo were very ambitious. The idea of the JaRIA Honor Awards, to have a full reggae orchestra. I saw a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
Especially when Ibu turn up late.
You know, my tickler for time.
Sorry. When Ibu turn up late, and him like, oh, and he put on your bag, and he phone not answer, him not know where the phone there. And then you think, say...
And the keyboard and the music stand and the printer.
And then next week at the award, and like, where the music them there, who are going to do this? But at the end of the day, I need you to reflect on those memories of that honor awards and what happened with him, you know, just leading that orchestra.
But, you know, the thing I say to young people in the music business is that the bottom line is the results. Yeah. Forget about what will take place in between that and the show. The show comes first. So, you have to knock heads and knock fists and whatever it is, you know. But at the end of the day, when the show is finished, we all hug. Because, and Ibu, as a professional, understood that. So when I used to rant and go ahead and, you know, and stuff like that, it didn't matter. We understood that because, you know, we are veterans in the business. But in the early days, I like to talk about Edna. Because, you know, I can't big up Edna enough because in the early days when we had no money, no sponsorship, it was Edna who came forward.
Look on you when you said that.
That is to suggest that I'm unaware.
Yeah. Edna who came forward. We had everything at Edna. We had the Wednesday shows. We had the award shows. Yeah. I remember, I'm not going to say it on live TV, but we had to do something to accommodate. It wasn't 20-piece. I remember we had 38-piece orchestra. And every well-known, it's a history to JaRIA, and you have to write that. Every well-known arranger. At one time, I remember we had 8 arrangers arranging. And some of, you know, Peter Ashburn, you name them. 8 of them, and we gave them the songs that we wanted them to do. And my job as a producer was to choose songs that I think would be, and Ibu and myself would sit down, who would be the right arranger for this.
Right.
And I remember at the amphitheater at Edna, we had to take down a tree to be able to accommodate the 38.
You know, if you say it loud.
I have to say it because we had to take, and after I explained it to the principal at the time, she allowed us to do it. But it has done well because it was really in the space of the, because we wanted this big stage to accommodate 38 people. So you can imagine 38 people on stage at the amphitheater, okay? And those arrangements were just first class. And the arguments that used to erupt between some of these well-known arrangers and Ibu and myself. But just saying, in show business, people don't know what goes on behind the scene. But after the event, everybody kind of hug up because the result was there. And you can't have, and I'll say this to young people in the business, and if you're going to go for perfection, expect that if you're doing something and it is not up to scratch, you must be able to accept it because that's the nature of our business.
Yeah. You kind of took over that artistic role. It's interesting that you took over the artistic role, but also chairman. So kind of almost following in Ibu's direct path in terms of trajectory for JaRIA.
Indeed.
Me know it go, because we've been there with Ibu and the music coming at a particular time.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Well, it was interesting because Ibu was chairman and director of music for the award show. And then I became chairman. But Ibu was still director of music for the award show. And the awards show was still being produced by Director Lincoln. And then, but one of the things about him was that he was very accommodating. At the end of the day, and Junior always says, listen, the producer has to produce. The director has to direct. And that was very clear. But in the process of creation, he had always been very accommodating. What do you think? What do you feel about this? You know? Try a thing, man. Do your thing. And he said, yeah, me like that. Keep it. And so it was kind of a creative, free space. Even though this was a space within which we were using scores, you know, with the horn section are very clear, the string sections are very clear. Sometimes he just write them over. If something wasn't working, him just say, him just take back the scores. And because he was always armed with his keyboard, his printer, and a ream of paper.
Right? I know.
Right. So
and the laptop, don't forget the laptop.
Yeah, man, the laptop. And the melodica.
Don't forget.
So I mean, it was important for him to be flexible. And so this kind of always being on the cusp of creativity is made him, for me, a kindred spirit, because it was kind of my style of creating. And so even though the first time I did the award show, I did it as a drummer. I just, intonation came to play. He said to me, come, I need intonation to be the rhythm section, and we have all this left. And so we're doing the rhythm section work. But then he just turns to me and says, what do you feel about this? What do you think we need to do here, sir? Because, of course, we have a much longer musical history. Because I will tell you that I met Ibo probably 90-something. I don't want to age myself because then I will age Colleen as well. And that's not allowed.
That's not true.
Right? So that's the point. But we met in 90-something up at Peter Couch Studio. Third World was working on something. And I actually met for the first time on that same occasion Toots. Because Toots was there, just chilling, just hanging out. And from then, there was this kind of connection. And I guess it might have been the Clarendon connection, which Colleen understands well. But it was also that kind of sound respect for, but not reverence for, European classical music, and how it could be interpreted in the context of Jamaican music, and why they should stand beside each other.
Me give thanks for that, you. And I'm going over to you, Serena, because some years me used to surf with Serena. Like, when you can't find a vocalist, if we're drafting. No, man, I'm good. We have Serena come.
Yeah, man, I was a voice for graduation demos. I was a voice for any advertisement demo. I was a voice for demo. demos on top of demos.
Changing into
But
demo.
yeah, I get to witness the studio side of Mr. Cooper, you know. So I get to witness the behind the scenes of the late night scoring for JaRIA, the late night scoring for graduation, the late night scoring for some competition, something. So and he'll be just going and going. I'm like, sir, you eat? Like,
Him not remember that.
good man. I just want to finish this. I just want to finish, you know. And it's amazing how such creativity can come out of one person and the product just sounds so. How him think about that? How him come up with that?
For me, it was just his ability to collab well with anyone.
Yes.
You're a musician, him did it. Dale, me know say you're him a go draw for Dale. You have some people where him a go draw for.
Exactly.
Dale, you were one of those.
Yeah. The part of, continuing the conversation about Sir, in terms of his, not just his competence, but his ability to work in just about any space. So if you took him, if he was at a Pentecostal church, he could play.
Yeah.
If he was in an Anglican or Catholic church, he could play. You know, the versatility, which tells me that he didn't pigeonhole himself. It is one of the things that I try to tell even some of the younger musicians.
That's what he tried to teach at
Yeah, I said, don't pigeonhole yourself. Don't come say, boy, you're a reggae musician or you're just a dancehall musician or you're just a jazz musician. Because the fact is, society has already pigeonholed you because you are a musician.
Yeah.
There are certain expectations that society does not have of you as a musician. So don't add to that, you know. And outside of his versatility as a musician, his ability to carry conversations in just about any circle was one of the things that I think that not only impressed me, but it inspired me. Because I don't really like dunce people. I'm allergic to
Who
them.
does?
You understand? And for him, as an elder, you know, it was a bright light for me, you know, and I didn't feel weird around him.
I remember sometimes, Joan, you know, the frustration came for me when I was scripting, because I took over the scripting from Charles Campbell after a couple of years. And I used to be like, is who performed a song here? Like, what we must put in there? And I know that I shouldn't panic. There was no fear, you know. We just want it done because of one person named Kurt Buchanan who wanted it early.
Correct.
But for the rest of us who were in JaRIA, we always knew you're going to get it because he's working it through, and I him say improv.
Somebody's going to show up, at least on the night.
On the night before, we're sure,
Yeah.
so we're going to get it. You know, when I think of, and we have to say, last year was a tough year for
Yes, for all of us.
all of us.
Yeah.
I'm happy that we were able to see him with Arif.
Yes.
I'm happy that we
On
have
this
those
very program.
memories.
On this very program.
On this program.
Yeah.
I am, till sometimes I don't know. It's almost like I am still in disbelief that there is a JaRIA without a Ibu. And so I wanted to just go around the room. If Ibu were, is there something that you would have said to him that you haven't said to him, that you'd say to him now? I'm sorry. I start with you, Junior.
Why? What I would say? I don't know, because we chatted a lot. You know, sometimes Ibu would call me we would have JaRIA meetings, and then I go home and he goes home, and then he would call me and say, "Can you talk?" And then that would be 2 hours.
That's true.
You know, so I think I said everything to him, and he said everything to me, because I'm not going to answer the question, because I just think I can't answer that question more than to say I can't think of anything. But I'd say this, that we don't talk enough about Ibu is that who was Ibu Cooper? That is the question. Who was Ibu Cooper? Here is a man who was into academia and left that. He left university because he found Rastafari. And when we talk about Ibu's music, the most fundamental thing to Ibu, wasn't his music, is the advancements of black people.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? That was the most fundamental thing to him. So we would have these long, long conversations, because if it was the music and just the commercial aspect of it, he would not be at Edna. We spoke about things like purpose, which is very important to any human being. Without finding your purpose, you have a problem. He found his purpose, and I would like to think that I found mine. And this is why we can be so direct. Yeah. We can take on the challenges of life, because without that purpose, we could not survive as JaRIA. But we knew we had that purpose.
I'm laughing because I had to call you on this morning, Serena. We were downtown last night, and we were giving out baskets. And somebody said, give Colleen a basket, she deserves it. And Yuan said, you mean we give her a basket to carry water? And I'm laughing now, but when you think about basket for carry water, sometimes we got basket for carry water for a couple of years, in as much as we had some support that we appreciated. And Ibu was the man. Ibu was the man who, like you, Junior, the conversations were never 20 minutes.
No.
It was always, you have 2 minutes telling you.
Yeah.
And then the 2 minutes just went on and on.
Yeah. Scale up, babe.
But I wanted to hear what you would have said in this moment, Yuan.
Well, we had very many long conversations, because after every board meeting, there would be
Another
a
meeting.
post-meeting.
Yes.
And he would go through the entire meeting, and he would do a kind of recap, and he would explain his perspective on a particular thing, and you would get some more history. And then I would share mine. And sometimes we would disagree, but we would always end the conversation with a healthy respect for either our convergence of perspective or our divergence of perspective. So I don't know if there's anything that I haven't said that I could have said, because he was very clear on the regard I had for not just his work, because his body of work is undeniable, but for his philosophy.
Yep.
And Director Lincoln spoke about what drove him, what is the purpose. And that philosophy is something that settled with me very well. It settled with me from very early. And it was a philosophy that was not driven by economics, but it was a philosophy that, if followed, could be a solid economic portal.
True.
And that's a distinction a lot of people don't get.
Yeah.
He wasn't driven by money. But if we followed the perspective, the quality he was trying to get, I mean, look at the quality of the musicians from Monty, C Sharp, Aeon, that whole team.
Yeah.
Just look at the quality that came out. Those musicians, in their own right, and I mean, we're not even talking about the vocals in Serena and the bass playing in Dale and so on, but we're just talking about that first group of Edna Manley pop band students.
Yeah.
They can stand beside any musician in their genre in the world.
That's true.
Anyone in the world. And that is because he not only, and for many of them, I don't even think he taught them instruments necessarily, but he gave them a belief in themselves.
Right.
And he gave them a philosophy of why we do what we do and why we represent ourselves in a particular way. Yeah. And he knew very clearly that was something that settled very well in my spirit. So I think we have shared so much that I probably would rephrase some things. But we've said it.
Yeah, and the arguments really never lasted beyond the moment.
No.
For Ibo, really, even when you disagree.
Yeah.
I know we're going to come down to a little break, so I didn't want you to start, Serena, and I didn't want you to start either. Whew.
Yeah.
It's...
Just let me say, though, you're not saying it, but since you're not saying it, I'm going to say it.
Yes.
When she joined JaRIA, she was a little rebel.
Yes.
Okay?
And she's now still a rebel, but not little.
No. This is sort of thing that Ibu is very proud of, and so am I.
Yes.
To see little Colleen playing the role, being right through with JaRIA, and playing this responsible role, because we had used to have fight with her, we had to quiet her. I won't say what she said to me once. I just looked at her and I laughed, and Ibu laughed too and said, you see, look how she's going, she don't know nothing about your history. And look, that makes me proud.
She's mellowed, yes.
I have mellowed because I couldn't help it. There was a kind of boys' club who looked out for me like fathers look out for my children. I have some reggae babies, that Ibu kind fathered, junior fathers. So it's been, so when I say, I didn't know I could do this show, actually. So I really give thanks for the space to do the show and to be comfortable with my discomfort, because men are really want makeup girls, so I'm very concerned about what will happen.
Keeping it intact.
Keeping it intact. But if you have just joined us, you would have missed a lot. We're celebrating the man called Ibu Cooper, a friend, a teacher, a mentor, a father, a leader, a wonderful human being. You know, they say in Shakespeare that the elements were so well mixed in him that we could all stand up and say, this was a man, because he was a man. We come right back.
Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. What do you say? Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Listen. Play me reggae music in any condition. Drop it in a style, drop it in a fashion. Everywhere I go, I'm rocks the reggae man. Play me reggae music and chant down Babylon. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Come on, everybody, start it. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Not a mercy, listen. I come from Mandeville, I'm a true Jamaican. I come from Kingston and I join a reggae man. Travel Africa and I travel Japan. My mother proud of me, so she just love my man. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Hey. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Why? Check this out. Hey, yes. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Hey. Hey, yeah. Lord of mercy. Check this. So everywhere I jump, it's the same question. I'm gonna big music. I'm from a little island. When the music play, it leave them in a state of shock. Big, big music from the little rock. Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Well, whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Hey, Lord of mercy. They take them high, they take them low. take them any place they wanna go. A reggae music, we love it so. Sweep me from me head right down to me toe. Oh, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador, Lord. Oh, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Oh, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. Oh, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador. 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 Come here, somebody.
Welcome back to Reggae Open University, produced by the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, that I'm absolutely pleased and honored to be a part of. With me, we have Junior Lincoln, long-time director, still going strong, Mr. Johan Simpson, Miss Serena Constantine, and Mr. Dale Brown. Lloyd Stanbury shared this after Ibu passed, and I just wanted to take out a piece of it. Big up yourself, Lloyd. I hope you're watching. I've been a major fan ever since, and I'm still unable to comprehend how one man can play 3 to 4 keyboards at the same time on stage while also singing. I've also had the privilege to work and collaborate with Ibu on various Jamaican music industry development projects, including the Entertainment Advisory Board, the CME UNESCO Artists in Development Project, and the Reggae Academy Awards. Ibu gave selflessly of his time, knowledge, and music expertise to the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association, and as a lecturer in the music department of the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts. And he closed it by saying, if the touring Jamaican musicians who were once students of Ibu at Edna were to stop traveling, there would probably be no live reggae music performed by Jamaicans anywhere in the world. Johan mentioned it before we went to a break about the early bands. We could remember them. C-Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
C-Sharp was the first, no?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it was first.
So there was C-Sharp, there was Pentatouche,
Raging Fire.
there was Raging Fire.
There was further notice.
There was further
That's
notice
right.
that became notice, and those are it's Unga and Welsh, who do popular Diamond Sax rhythm kind of fame. So there have been, and it is true, because I feel proud, and people probably all hate me for it, but when I see them on stage, I feel like they're my children, and I can't help but shout out Edna Manley College. I really should start shouting out Ibu along with that. Because, you know, as the Bob movie going on, go and watch it, by the way, but the importance of legacy. It's important that we talk about legacy, but before we went to a break, I needed to go to Serena and Dale to just say, what would you have said to Ibu that you didn't get a chance to say, or what would you say today?
I don't know if there's anything I would say. I've said it all. I told him I loved him before anything else. So at least I got that out there. I don't think there's anything I would say. We would probably just be having some random conversation about music or about life or about me being out in the cruise ship talking about how it is. And say, boy, sir, you know, say all them stories where you tell me about people after them drink one too many are true. Say, yeah, man, I'm witnessing it for myself. You know, just some random stuff, having some fun conversation about life and stuff like that. So,
Because there was always a laugh, huh?
yes,
There was always a laugh.
He's always says, "Sir, just enjoy life, yeah, man. Enjoy life and have fun, and don't take yourself too seriously sometimes, you know." So yeah,
Sila. Dale.
You know, and you may call this a coping mechanism. But for me, it's kind of hard to think of him in the past tense or to refer it to him in the past tense. So it's more like, yeah, sir is or sir will. Just the same way for me just now. I'm remembering sir as, you know, when him always a stroking beard. You know, say, all right, you have some idea. You don't have to worry because things going to work out, you know, and the smile. The ultimate conversationalist. That's how I see it. There's a man who can talk about
anything
and everything all at once. And
make sense.
And make sense. Yeah, man. Yeah, it makes sense. His whole position, as where it pertains to black people, our place in this world, our responsibility to assert our own selves and all of that. That was something dear to his heart, and he always spoke about it, not just around big people like we are, but with the students too, because he always referred to the various portals that our generations have gone through and what the final one is that we need to go through and all of that. One of the things I remember about him, is his ability to put a congregation. Well, I've seen this. I saw this one. He had a congregation holding their breath. It was in 2009 at my father's funeral. And I had asked him to, give a tribute on behalf of the music fraternity. I said, no problem. Travel up to country, Claremont, St. Anne. And he was there in the service, went up when it was his time. He started off, protocols, observe and all that thing, going through everything. While talking, he started one of his sentences by saying, the Christians and the people held their breath. They just felt it.
Yeah.
Because remember now, he's a Rasta man.
Yes,
I said the Christians.
Yes.
And he continued by saying, the Christians teach that we come to know God the Father through Jesus Christ, his Son. And in a similar but less significant way, many of us came to know Brother Brown the Father through Dale's Son. And then you heard, And that actually was a historical moment in that church because I can't remember any time before or after that where a Rastaman
has ever been in the pulpit,
addressed the congregation.
Yes.
For me, I'm not sure if I would have anything to say to him. What I have said about him since his transition in conversations with a couple of people is that I am of the strong view that he did all that he had to do. He completed his task. Like when you get your assignment, you do every question, right? And you go through everything and full marks. So I think that's him.
A+.
Yeah, man,
it's such an interesting place to go because I recall Ibu's last days, Junior, and we were talking a lot then, that he knew when it was time. One of them faithful servants who knows and I've served and I was ready. So when he was ready, Colleen, me tired, call Ibi for me. And me think say prayers him want. But he wanted more than some prayers, he wanted to be baptized Orthodox. So it's almost like he made his choice in typical Igbo fashion. And may I decide how I go do this. And me know which song me want to sing, and who I go sing his song them, and which band I go play, and who fi talk. So I want to talk a little bit about Igbo's spirituality, just how I remember him and the passion he had for making sure that the services were kind of ecumenical or at least, what's the other word we then call it when all the church them come together?
Ecumenical, man.
Ecumenical, there's another one. Interfaith.
Oh, that's a word. Good answer.
Yes, Junior. So I kind of wanted us to talk a little bit about.
Well, I think our connection away from, we're in the music business and, for years, I'm a bit older than he was. And the real connection between myself is people who think it's music. No, it's our spirituality. And there's those conversations that we used to have 2-3 hours. most of that was that. He always wanted to know. If Ibu don't know something, he will call me and ask me about the history in Britain and the music and so forth and all that kind of stuff. And not only in the music, but the condition of Britain, condition of the people who went to Britain and all of that sort of stuff. But his real purpose for me is, as I said before, he wanted the best for black people. And that is why he would, as you said earlier, away from teaching the younger ones, it wasn't just teaching you music.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always a reasoning
Yeah.
with the young ones. And he used to be so proud, even though he did not show it as much, but I know how proud he was when he would see students develop, not only musically, but spiritually.
Or the little rebellious ones turn.
You know what I mean? So most of our conversations were about world affairs, where we stand, the brainwashing that we got, and how difficult it is to get out of that brainwashing. So he spent his life, his grown-up life, trying to change that, even though he was this fantastic musician and fantastic teacher, but it wasn't just that on his own. He did not think that you could be the fine musician that you should be if you didn't have that side, because another thing that we used to speak a lot about, that was one of my favorite things to him, is that our young musicians must understand that our music is the only music, popular music, that gave birth out of spirituality.
Yeah.
What do I mean by that? How in the world could we have such an impact in the 60s and the 70s with some of even our composers and writers wasn't formally trained. Some of them couldn't even read and write properly. And those lyrical content is what helped to change the world. And that is why these music lasts forever and ever and ever. Some of our musicians and artists were eating, as we would say in the business, eating good food now. Those songs did not sell a whole lot at the time. But that is why when you have classic music, it's generation and generation to come. So we would talk about those sort of things, why did we get this music to do? And we will go into that kind of discussion. And the last thing I will say, and I'll say it to the industrial people in the music business, and especially the young people, learn a little bit of the history of our music, because it will help you.
Yeah.
It will help.
It's Ewan's nodding, because he and I had a moment last night. We were saying that one of the things that made Reggae Wednesdays unique was Ibu up there like a little teacher all the time, like a sage,
Yes.
just talking you through the various genres. The last time we saw Ibu perform was at Calabash. I don't know if you recall.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the way he used storytelling while performing is really, really amazing.
Exactly.
Yuan, when you talk about legacy, your position now in JaRIA, I know you're not staying in the same position forever, but I think you'll always be a member. What is it that you can carry from what you've learned from Ibu over the years?
Well, that's a very easy question, because the single most obvious element of Ibu was his commitment to his purpose. That carried him every day, every single day. There was something in every conversation that you had with him, even if it was a conversation about the rhythm of the gait of a lovely woman walking down the street. Yes? It took you back to the
It
purpose.
go right back.
It took
Exactly.
you back to the purpose.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it is easy to see how, regardless of the role you are playing, so if you move from, I moved from calm director to chairman, I will move on to other things eventually. But as Ibo moved on from chairman to legacy director, and he carried some things with him, it is easy to see that it is not about you hanging on to a particular title or hanging on to a particular role, but it is you continuing to serve and sometimes changing how you serve to make room for others, even as you groom others, even as you teach others. But the mission remains the same.
Well said.
Give thanks.
Well said. Well said.
Your word, your metal off the drums, man.
Well said. Well said.
Serena, what's your legacy? What do you want people to say about you?
About me?
Yes,
you.
It's you.
Dennis who? Couldn't be.
Number 3.
I would like people to remember me as a good person, as a great performer, as someone who didn't take herself too seriously, enjoyed life, and always tried to do her best for herself and do the best by people, And just try to remember these 3 things that Mr. Cooper says. Serena, if you don't do anything in life, do these 3 things. Many were driving one long night. Say one out of these 3 things. He either read a book, plant a tree, or have a child. No matter how you have him. Because with each of these, when you read a book, you gain some sort of knowledge. You plant a tree, you give him back to the environment. And when you have a child, you're bringing a new generation in.
Perpetuating mankind.
Thanks.
Yes.
You get me? So I will never forget that. I remember that. So I'll hold that close to my heart, and I hope that I can do the same for somebody else, and people remember me in that light.
In that way.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
Well, one of the things that has stood out for me, and I have adapted it, is one of the he always said, I don't make rules for people. Which to me means I respect you enough to make your own decisions, however you choose. Right? So, I would want to be remembered as that kind of person who never made rules for people. So I'm not going to stand over you with a big stick and say, you have to do this, or you have to do that. I'll give you ultimatums. I despise ultimatums. People who try to give me ultimatums always end up on the wrong side. It's very simple. And then the other thing for me is faith. Faith in its simplest, believing in the possibilities of the ideas that are born within your own mind. Because them not come there for nothing. An idea pops up in your mind for a particular reason, a particular purpose. Believe in it, work towards it, feel good about it, and you will realize it at some point.
Give thanks.
Yeah.
I'll ponder mine, but we continue speaking. I think about some of the things that JaRIA started out with, some of the core objectives. I remember when we had the campaign, the Preserve Your Music campaign. I remember the advocacy for carrying musician being able to carry goods in and get some tools of trade. I remember the noise abatement was still not abate.
I remember him he had a position about that,
Yeah.
So music is not noise.
Not noise, yes.
It's never noise.
Yes.
All of those that we started out in the early years with, where are we now? What do we do in terms of something that we perhaps still, where do we need to get to so that we can keep honoring Igbo?
Funny enough, at our last board meeting,
Yes.
I brought that up at the meeting because that's an extremely important part of JaRIA. And the other thing that I'd like to see us do is to get the organizations, the various music organizations, back, because there's a space there for JaRIA. And all the advocacy that we were doing at the time, they did not come from JaRIA. It was done by everyone together. And out of that, we decided what we're going to go for. So it was not JaRIA thing, and that we thought that was a very important way of uniting the industry.
Yeah.
Because if you were to ask me what I'd like to see in the industry, is that coming together. You know, I tell the story of when I went to Great Britain, 1959. It was just after the war. And they were still picking up bombshells of the Germans against the British and Italians, the whole Europe that was fighting. And they never used to even talk to each other. They didn't like each other. But it didn't take them long to sit around the table. Still didn't like each other, but sit around the table to form the European Union. And I tell that story, and I will keep on saying it, because we are going to have differences of opinion. Nothing wrong with difference of opinion. That's what makes it dynamic. And I always say, you know, as a businessman to directors and boards, so listen, if we're going to agree with each other, and I say something and I say it strongly, and you disagree, don't take it personal, because if you agree with everything that I said, then I don't need a board. But why do I need a board? You know,
don't need one.
We have to learn to accept that and don't take it personal and see. And that is what Igbo was very good at.
Yes.
He saw the project.
Yes.
And until we do that, until we learn to work with each other, we're going to be isolated.
Okay. We have just 5 minutes to go, so I want you to take a quick minute.
Yes.
And I go to Serena, who will project a little more so we can hear you belt out like when you're singing. You know? So as the chair of JaRIA, though, what is it that you think that we need to look at in terms of advocacy? Is there anything worth advocating for this?
No, there is a lot worth advocating for, but in a segue from what Director Lincoln said, JaRIA doesn't exist to advocate for itself. It exists to advocate on behalf of the industry. And so the extent of the force behind our advocacy is the extent of the involvement of the industry, the wind that the industry brings to an organization like JaRIA that has the ability to advocate. And so it is important that we have our finger on the pulse of what the industry needs. And that the industry knows that we are whom they are to reach out to make this happen. And to also understand that advocacy takes several forms, because it is not always walking with placards.
No.
Sometimes it's about writing a song.
Amen.
It is not always about quarreling with the media. It is sometimes inviting them to lunch. It is not always about criticizing the work or the bad work of someone or an artist or a promoter. It is sometimes offering them a helping hand, because transformation, advocacy has an objective. It is not about hearing your voice. It is about the change and the objective.
Give thanks. Serena?
I knew he had a vision to see JaRIA as big as the Grammys.
The honor award.
Yeah,
honor
the
award.
honor
So
award.
we shall work on that.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so
the powers that be will make it happen
it is
by
going
giving
to
us the
happen.
support.
Speaking it into being, it is going to happen.
It will happen.
It will happen.
And not too
In
long
my
from
lifetime.
now. And not too long from now. Yes.
Dave?
I think ultimately part of this will, and it's going to obviously depend on, the members of JaRIA and others. But Sir was very much, one who was for learning and teaching. Sir Lincoln had mentioned our music being the only one that was born out of spiritual experience. There's a poet who lives in England. His name is Akala. He was on a forum, kind of like this. And he spoke of Jamaica being a great influence in the world on the politics and the cultures of various countries without firing a single shot, a single bullet. I think part of the responsibility has to do with reteaching our people, and our people, by that I mean the society at large. Reteaching concepts, noise abatement, for example, and these things. We have to find a way to use the music to teach people, the right things.
Give thanks, Dave. We're going to a wrap, and I want to quickly share Elaine Wynn's comment that it is quite fitting that Ibu was appointed Officer of the Order of Distinction in 2005, for this is the order whose motto is distinction through service. Ibu's love and light continues to radiate generously through the hearts of those he touched as teacher, leader, team builder, performer, philosopher, and friend. We give thanks for this wonderful human being that we've come to know and love, Mr. Ibu Cooper. We thank you for your service. We thank you for your friendship. We thank you for your spirit. And I want to just thank Dale Brown for sharing. I know it was a tough one for you to come to. So we appreciate you being open for this. Serena, little Miss Barley Barley, thank you for the light you shine in music and just being. Johan, my brethren for a long time, I tell them I did my coach a festival queen. So that's many moons ago. For the brilliant, bright, wonderful, shining star you are for JaRIA and just for music generally. We are here always. Junior, you've given yeoman service to the industry. You've been a stalwart. You've been there. And we love you for always being Junior. Ibu, we miss you. You will never be forgotten. We will ensure that every generation, my children's grandchildren, will know your name because you served. It has been a wonderful evening reflecting. My name is Colleen Douglas. It has been a pleasure to do the third Reggae Open University in this year's staging of Reggae Month. And we invite you to just subscribe to the JaRIA's platform. Keep tuning in to the people who support us, the Best FM, the PBCJ. And we see you next week, Wednesday, right downtown in the Festival Village, where we have some wonderful people who me can't really see you and forget some wear glasses. Say it quick, so that we can go to this beautiful video.
Rocking Reggae with Turbulence.
Turbulence gonna be on stage.
Papa Michigan.
Noel
Davis, the originator of the
Check the
Slangton
platforms,
rhythm. Yeah.
JaRIA Entertainment on Facebook,
Firehouse
IG,
Crew.
that you can see what is happening and follow. Just catch the rhythm for Reggae Month 2024. We give thanks.
Ambassador. Mr. Reggae Ambassador.
My attache case, please.
Whoa, 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 yeah. I'm Mr. Reggae Ambassador.
Say I receive an invitation from the executive committee to attend the meeting of the General Assembly. When I entered the room, I said the council was in session. They were supposed to be in a high-level discussion, but talks in deadlock, man. Them could not come to a conclusion. But man, the place was in a confusion. Here we sing, watch me. Hey, the Japanese diplomat, him of the German by the throat. We said the Russian does not tear up the American coat. Palestinian chase the Jew with a baseball bat. So while the Chinese delegation shouts, sit down, stop that. Hey, the Zimbabwe delegate was about to leave. With the English dirty Moses safety to his shirt sleeve. See what's happened to civilization. While the world is wasting intention.